Audio.
Hey, do you know in CSS we have the display property that controls how an element behaves on the web page, or whether it takes full width or only required space, or whether width and height can be applied or not. So in CSS we have display block that takes your full width, and here we can apply width and height. So the examples are div, paragraph, your heading elements, sections, and there can be many more. Then we have the second property, display inline. So it stays in the same line and it only takes the required space. And here you cannot have width and height property. And some examples are the span, anchor tag, the button, input fields, image, or there can be many more. Then at last we have the display inline block. So here it stays in the same line just like your inline, and here the width and height will work just like the block. So it is inline block. So now let's see them with code examples of each. So in HTML, you might have studied about the block and inline elements. So let's take the example of div, which is your block element, and let's give it a name as block only. And let's also have an inline element, that is your span, and let's again have the name as inline only. And let's quickly have a background color for them. Let's go with light green. And for your span, let's go with light coral. So you might have noticed that your block element is taking the full width of your screen, whereas the inline element taking that much space that is required by them. So in CSS, we have three properties with which we can control their behavior. And let's first try to apply the width and height to both of them. As you know, these properties will not get applied to your inline element. See, your block element got the width and height of 100, whereas your inline is as it is. So let's go with our first property, that is display block. If I set this to display block, nothing is getting changed. Why so? As your div is already a block element. Let's try to change this to inline. Now look, your block element is also behaving like your inline element, and these properties are not getting applied. Then now let's have our display property as inline. See, again, nothing is getting changed. As your span is already an inline element, so now let's change it to your block element. See, this time your inline element is behaving like your block element, and the block element is behaving like the inline element. Interesting, right? And do you know we also have a third property, that is inline block. So what do you mean by that? If I set this to inline block, let's take one more example to understand this third property, inline block. So in place of span, let's have one more block element. Let's have block 1 and block 2. Let's initially have background color. with some margin. Initially, both are block elements. No issues. And as you know, in block elements, width and height are applied. So we have two boxes, block 1 and block 2. Now let's set this to display block. Again, nothing will change as they are already a block. Now let's change it to inline. See, it is behaving like inline element, only taking that much space that is required by them. Now these are side by side, right? Now if I set this to inline block, so what I told you, it will behave half like the inline element. So it will take only that much space that is required by them. Both will appear side by side, as well as this width and height property will get applied as in case of block element. See, now both are side by side, as well as these properties are applied to it. So yes, these were the three display properties in CSS with which you can control elements on the web page. So hope you understood about this in a much better way. So see you all in the next one. Till then, take care.